Hello again, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Meet the People. My name is David Feiner. I'm the Communication Technology Manager in the City of Pittsburgh's Department of Innovation and Performance. Today we have a guest that a lot of people will recognize here in the City of Pittsburgh. That's Sally Stadelman. And I've known Sally so long that I remember when you had long hair the first time.
That's right, David. My various hairstyles have all been captured over the years on City Channel.
First it was really bright and long, and then it was really short. Did you have a shaved head at one? Not shaved,
yes,
but...
And it's still there. It's still there. Yes, I think the word you're looking for is blonde.
Okay.
Used to be blonde, and now it's something else, a little more natural.
Were you looking to go back in time with your longer hair? Was there a reason to grow it out? I'm asking these questions because I can't grow hair. So I'm just,
that must be
I'm very jealous.
Yeah, what a great question. I don't know. I think the pandemic happened, and it just kind of shook up. I had a little more time on my hands and could grow my hair through all those very uncomfortable, awkward phases of, going from short to long. And here I am.
That's it.
I don't know. I woke up and it was this long.
Well, thanks for joining us. That's it. Good night. Sally, you have been a prominent person in the City of Pittsburgh government for quite a while. So before we get into I first want to, you're currently the executive director of the Pittsburgh Land Bank. Is that?
Ooh, thanks for that really lovely promotion. I am just the manager.
Oh, the manager.
Managing the Pittsburgh Land Bank.
Okay,
yes.
Manager. Okay. So before we get into the land bank, there's a lot of history we have to get through. Tell us where you're from, how'd you get to Pittsburgh, and how'd you originally start working for the City of Pittsburgh?
Well, I was born in the City of Pittsburgh. I spent about a year of my life here, and then my parents picked up and moved to a little place called Washington, Pennsylvania, and that's where I grew up. Went to Trinity High School, and then was looking at colleges, wanted to be in a big city, wanted to get far away from here, and somehow ended up at the University of Pittsburgh. And that was really such a blessing in disguise. I was a tour guide while I was at Pitt, and that was the story I told all the time, was just this, this seemed too hometowny for me, and it really just, Pittsburgh is every amenity you could ever wish for, in a big city, in a much more manageable small town. And so I went, I was at Pitt. I did international studies. I thought I was gonna, get out of here and move to Europe. I did an internship at the European Parliament. And then my last year at Pitt, I got placed, I did an internship, and I was placed in the office of Councilman Bill Peduto.
I know him.
Yeah. And that began this career in local government, and I couldn't be happier, and I love working for, there's really something magic about local government and how close you are to the people that you serve, and how you really get to see the change happen before you in the place that you live.
When you wanted to work in the European Parliament, did you want to be a European parliamentarian?
I think you have to be a permanent resident. So it certainly would have been that. But, the European Union is a huge organization. I mean, there are so many different things that you could do, and I would meet fellow Americans that had work and had positions there. So, as a, 20-year-old, I don't know that I knew exactly, but my thoughts were, I'm gonna go abroad and do something exciting. And little did I know, right here in Pittsburgh, there were lots of exciting things waiting for me.
So you said you were placed in Councilman Peduto's office. What kind of, did you have any preconceived notions about local government? Did you have any idea what you were getting involved in? Or did you just think, this is where I'm being placed and I'll just go there for a couple of months and be done with it?
I wasn't, good question. I don't know if I had a ton of preconceived notions. I mean, as a college student, I knew nothing about nothing. So
Same.
it was, yeah.
But mine's current. I know nothing about nothing.
I don't know. I don't know what I was, I don't know. I definitely was interested and eager to learn and understand what was going on. And, I think the great thing about, really working in any elected official's office, and I think what is just such a great introductory job that I wish everyone could spend a year doing is frontline constituent services. They had me answering the phone and talking to whoever it was, calling us up with whatever ideas or issues or problems they had. And I've done that work for, many years now in the roles I've had at the city. And it's just so, it's humbling and it's centering and, it keeps you honest and really helps you to see what you look like to the outside world. How are others perceiving local government? It's, you get that answering the phone, being out there at meetings, and talking to people. And it's eye-opening.
Was there a moment or a group of moments that you flushed away your European parliamentarian dreams? Was there something that happened that you decided this is something I want to do instead? Or was it just kind of a gradual thing?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that there wasn't a light bulb moment. I think it was that I had a good experience and I enjoyed what I did and what I was doing in that role. And when I was offered the opportunity to stick around, I took it because I liked the mentors I had developed. I liked the subject matter. And so the role after that was working on a campaign. And that, again, I wish everyone could have the experience of being a campaign worker, because it's just what you learn, being out there in the field, talking to your residents day in and day out. It is a fundamentally important part of our democracy, that exposure between government and the people that it serves.
So it's no secret. I mean, most people that are going to watch this know who you are. So none of this is any secret, and I'm not bombarding you with questions you didn't know I was going to ask beforehand. But how many departments have you worked for inside the city-county building?
Great question, David. How many? So let's see. Let's go through. So I actually started, there were just a couple months when I first started where I was doing scheduling for all of the chiefs. Lots of scheduling and working the front desk. And after a couple of months...
In the mayor's office?
In the mayor's office. And after a couple of months, there was just this phenomenal city employee named Lori Durker who had worked for, I think this last mayor was her fourth.
All 400 mayors.
Yeah, all 400 mayors. And everybody figured out, hey, Lori Durker, she knows her stuff, and we need to get her in here and get this ship running smoothly, and so they brought Lori in and they said, Sally, I think you would really be a better fit doing constituent services and community affairs, and I think that was really spot on and exactly. I'm so grateful for those early years of getting to spend all that time working directly with residents and community development corporations and other partners like the Art of Democracy. And so I started, I had a couple months there, and then I was in the Office of Community Affairs for a few years, and was the deputy manager by the time I left. And so that was direct constituent services. It was helping to run deliberative forums, which was an exciting new style of community meeting that was really focused on collecting feedback from everyone that attended the meeting, and to foster good communication and collaboration within the scope of the meeting.
And we recorded a lot of those.
Yes. So they're still available if you want to go back and see, 2014 and 15.
Brighter blonde hair.
Yeah. Check out the different hairstyle. And I also got to run this wonderful program called the Civic Leadership Academy, which was a free 10-week course for residents to come and learn about the city of Pittsburgh. And that was a really rewarding program. And, so I spent 2 years, twice a year, sitting through presentations by all our departments and directors about what those departments did. And it was so rewarding to really get to this bird's eye view of how the whole city worked. And what I always found notable was at the end of that program, the residents that participated, their jobs would be on the floor. And they would say, I can't believe the city does so much stuff. I had no idea how involved all of this was, how many employees there were, how many services there are. And I wish, another one, we could get everybody to come do constituent services and go through the Civic Leadership Academy to really, take the time to see how much good work local government does. But I've digressed so let's see. So we're at 2. I then got to work for Guy Costa, who was the chief operations officer at the time, and he really focused in on, DPW. DOMI was just beginning to become a department at that point. PWSA. I got to write legislation to create the tree task force, the task force for tree protection. Yep. And what I also had started working on at that time was something that would pop up periodically in my constituent calls were matters pertaining to homelessness and what we did and how we addressed people that were living outside, sometimes in public spaces. And it was through that exposure that I started becoming involved with, the resources available. And then that grew into a position that I took in the Department of Public Safety, where I was managing an app called bigberg.com, and it's still up, so you can visit it today. It's a web app, and that's Berg, like the city, not the Sesame Street character, and it's free good services. So anything that was low to no barrier and free to use would go on this app, and I did all the data management, outreach, and training around that platform. And again, just really important work, and I'm so glad I got to spend that time learning and understanding the complexities of, how you address homelessness, and it continues to inform the work that I do to this day. So I went from public safety to another public safety-esque department, right? The Department of Permits, Licenses, and Inspections, PLI. Which was, formerly had been a part of the Department of Public Safety. Mm-hmm. So I went to PLI and became the Government and Community Affairs Liaison and spent a couple of years there. And again, just really, I think what I've always gravitated towards in my work at the city is, I'm talking to residents, I'm trying to help them navigate city systems, and I've always really been drawn to systems that are complex, but are really impactful on our residents' lives, right? Most people, at some point in your life, you'll have to pull a building permit, or maybe you'll have to deal with a citation, or you need PLI to take care of a public safety hazard on your street. It's a super core service. And I was so interested to get to go and work there and really learn about how those systems work. And I got to be a part of the rollout of online permitting, mm-hmm. which I think we all, it's easy to take for granted today, but imagine a time prior to 2018, you had to come down to 200 Ross Street and apply for a permit in person between 7:30 and 4, and you had to bring paper drawings. And 2 copies of those paper drawings, right? So you'd have lines of people with the big rolls of paper, and it seems like a distant memory now, but I'm very proud of getting to participate in that, and just like to think about how far that we have come, and I've had the opportunity to watch a lot of that change. Over the years in my different positions, yep. The whole city over the last 10 years has trended in that direction of putting things online, creating standard operating procedures, and creating more transparency so that it's much easier as a resident to understand and predict how a city service is going to work. So let's see here. How many? What are we up to now?
We're up to PLI. So after PLI,
So let's say 1, 2. So I think that was 4.
I've got a lot. So keep going.
And so then from PLI, I got this really exciting opportunity. Councilman Bobby Wilson. Bobby Wilson had won the primary for the District 1 council seat in May of 2009. So he was coming into office January of 2020. And he reached out and asked if I would be willing to join his team. And, I was, of course, it was an exciting opportunity to help a local leader build his new office, make sure that he was really setting up his constituent services for success, and getting an in-depth understanding and knowledge of how these departments worked so that he could be an effective leader in instigating change. And so that was my most recent position before the one I started. And it was wonderful. It was a great opportunity to serve the residents of the North Side, and and become reacquainted again with like the ins and outs of how council legislation works, because it's been a part of what I've done for many years. But it was great to be a little more up close and personal and have more built-in time to watch the council meetings, understand the progress of legislation. The funny thing about that job is when I was a city employee, or just working on something outside of council, it feels like legislation moves so slow, right? Like, it's like weeks or months, but really, most legislation is introduced, discussed, and passed in 3 weeks. Yeah. And it's really a pretty fast process.
Sometimes 2 weeks.
Yeah, right. Or you could rulate it and get it all passed in 1 day even, if necessary. And so I thought it was funny to see how different the speed of that work was being on the inside. But yeah, really, really enjoyed my time working for Councilman Wilson, and it was very hard to say goodbye and move on to a new role. But luckily, Councilman Bobby Wilson is on the Land Bank board, so I still get an opportunity to work with him and his staff.
Right. So if I was taking notes correctly, I've got you working in City Council twice. I've got you working in the mayor's office in 4 various positions. I've got you working in public safety and PLI. So you've been up and down the elevators of the city county building.
And 200 Ross.
Yeah,
so I'm in building number 3.
Right.
That seems high with the mayor's office. Did you get
I got you
did
in the
scheduling?
mayor's office with Lori, then in community affairs, then running Civic Leadership Academy, which I guess is a part of community affairs, and then with Guy Costa.
So the funny thing about the Office of Community Affairs is it was technically housed in the Department of City Planning, because the vision.
I forgot that.
Right. So I can count, put that towards my count. So I think the vision for that office was that it was, and we did do this, right? So it was supposed to serve all departments in the city.
Yep.
A little bit of comms, a little bit of constituent services, and we very much did act as a bridge, between departments or between departments and residents. But I think what we found practically is that a lot of the issues that ended up on our desks needed the attention of the mayor's office to get resolved.
Yep.
And so that kind of pulled us towards the mayor's office a bit more, but we were technically city planning employees, and we got to work with them as well.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
That is a lot of places.
And it's, I'm just so grateful for this career that I've gotten to have so far at the city. I think I've really been driven by wanting to understand and solve some of these sticky, complicated issues for our residents. I've always been eager to, pull back the curtain and figure out what's going on in there. And, even if it can't be me to solve it, how can I teach it and explain it to a resident in a simple way so that they don't just feel like they're getting blown off, but there are real and legitimate reasons why it is that we can't perform that service the way that you want it done.
So to finish off this section of questions, how did the job with the land bank happen? But before we even get to that, what is the land bank? I know what it is, and you know what it is, but there might be somebody watching this that doesn't. So what is the land bank?
Yeah, so the land bank is an entity that was created to help address vacant and abandoned property in the city of Pittsburgh, right? It's there to perform land recycling, right? So how does a property that is vacant and abandoned and tax delinquent go from that to an affordable occupied home, right? And the land bank is that tool to get that house to that point, or a vacant lot, right? Turned into a new construction home. So there's land banks all over the state of Pennsylvania, all over the U.S. It was created by state legislation, and then there's a local enabling legislation that created our Pittsburgh Land Bank. And so we are currently an affiliate of the Urban Redevelopment Authority. So just like Philly's Land Bank also is an affiliate of their redevelopment authority. And I like to think of the land bank as, so we have land recycling systems, right? The land bank isn't necessarily doing anything new. It's just an additional tool and a complement to the work that the city and the Urban Redevelopment Authority already does, right? The city takes property through treasurer's sale, clears the title, sells it to a community development corporation, a local owner-occupant, someone that wants to rehab the home. So that work is already happening at the city, and the city sends property to the Urban Redevelopment Authority, and they're doing that work too, right? They're assembling property to do larger development deals. And the land bank just offers this third necessary tool to help smaller projects or individuals that would simply like to buy one home have a more condensed and easier to use process to purchase that property. So you can kind of think of it as, adding a little more grease to the gears, a little more fuel to engine to really just keep things chugging along, because we certainly have no shortage of property that could be repurposed.
So how did the job with the land bank come about? You're hanging out in Councilman Wilson's office thinking, where can I work next?
Yeah, where is the next complicated issue I can get my hands on? So Councilman Wilson was appointed to the land bank board, and so that. And the land bank board, or the land bank, had always, I had always kept an eye on it, because throughout my years at the city, and then especially when I was working at PLI, one of the issues that were always the hardest, if not impossible to solve, were for people living next to vacant and abandoned property. If that structure wasn't in poor enough condition that it was jumping to the top of the demolition list, there wasn't and right now there isn't a whole lot that we can do for those in between properties where we don't have an owner to hold accountable. Perhaps they passed away, the owner is an LLC based in another state, so there's no local owner to hold accountable. It's not in poor enough condition to tear down. What is the pathway for those properties? And so right now, PLI performs, they go through their citation process. Perhaps they'll condemn the property. They get their work done. And now what's that next step? How do we make sure that we've got a resource and a service for residents that don't want to live next to that vacant abandoned property anymore? And how do we make sure that our local nonprofits, community development corporations, and also people that are interested in living in our neighborhoods in the city of Pittsburgh have an ability to access property that's been stabilized, that's in decent enough condition that it's still salvageable, and there haven't been thousands of dollars of added rehabilitation costs because that property has been left to sit. So I would see that issue, and I would always just be so frustrated that I didn't have a good answer for those residents I would talk to, and was years before I ever even thought to come and work for the land bank, saw it as, here's another very necessary tool that we need to be able to address this problem, right? It's as essential as picking up the garbage and providing clean water to residents. And so Councilman Wilson was was appointed to the board, so I got to work more closely with the staff at the Land Bank and the Urban Redevelopment Authority and continue to learn about it. And what I saw was, it's absolutely feasible and possible to get this thing online and start providing this really essential service to our nonprofit CDCs and local residents. And then my work that I had done at PLI, that I had done working on homelessness and just general constituent services, it all kind of complemented coming into this role really well. So when I saw there was an opening, I submitted an application, and here I am.
So you should be applying for your next job any minute now.
I am going to be here for a while. Let me tell you, I really, it is so rewarding to get to build a service, right? We're literally trying to turn this thing on and create processes,
Yep.
and there's been most of that work is done. But getting to build something and manage it and create a system that is equitable and transparent, predictable, and serving residents in a way that is just a little difficult for our systems right now. I'm going to be here for a while, David. There's no shortage of work to be done, and I am just, despite the challenges of the role, it's absolutely a dream job. I'm so thrilled to be here, and kind of, realize some of my dreams from my earlier roles of wanting to be able to address these issues.
So you and I have known each other a while, and we've worked together on a number of projects over the years. And I'm not trying to embarrass you or make you blush or anything, but listening to you talk about not only the roles you've had, but the current role you're in now, you are really dedicated. You are really passionate and dedicated about not just the land bank, but council, the mayor's office, PLI, city planning, public safety. You have this passion that just comes right out of you. And it's really awesome to sit here and watch you and listen to you talk about all these things. Again, I'm not trying to make you blush.
Well, thanks. Thanks, Dave.
You are the epitome or the personification of dedicated public servant. And I bet the 10 years ago you would have said, no, I need to get on the plane because I'm going across the pond. No, this is just a holdover. And look at you, this is your lifetime holdover.
Yeah, and I just, it's so rewarding to get to be a helper, to feel useful, and to feel like you're making a difference. And I think that's really what drives me to want to just figure out how we best serve our residents, mm-hmm. because it may not seem like a big deal to pave the streets and pick up the garbage and do some of those essential services, but and I think it's really easy to take them for granted, but I just imagine where we would be if people couldn't drive down a paved street to get to work every day.
Yeah.
And it's just so simple, but to me there's this incredible magic in all of that you get to serve everybody and take a little bit of credit for all the great things that happen in the city, because you're providing all these services that for the most part are happening so well, they're happening in the background, right? We wouldn't think twice about, turning the faucet on and whether or not there's water that's going to come out, or if you're going to have to, have a four-wheel drive vehicle to get up a road. I mean, there's still some of them in the city that are, that challenging. But I just, and then just all of the people that I've talked to over the years and been able to help. I think that there's, and especially when we talk about equity, right? I think that's been a major theme since I've started at the city. That's always been a big focus that I've learned from the people around me is building equity. And to me, the way that you breathe equity into a system is that everybody has the same experience when they are receiving a service from the city of Pittsburgh. And we do a decent job of doing that. And I've watched those systems be built. And when you don't have a transparent system, and when you're not serving everyone the same way, or you have so much need and not enough resource to meet it, that's where you find these systems where people that have the time to call and make connections with leadership to push to get their particular problem solved, right? That's where the inequity comes in. And the more that you standardize your systems, the more that you're truly serving everyone. Yep. And you're insulating yourself from a system that only serves people with the resources to access it.
How do you never work for 3-on-1?
Well, I would count
with everything you just described.
I would count, and Wendy Urbanek is absolutely my municipal hero. Wendy's been here my entire career. She's been there at the helm and just does this excellent job and is such a great role model. And I have felt like in many of my jobs, I feel like an extension of 311. And I can't tell you at how many meetings because I think people get a perception that 311 doesn't work because they've called. 311 has done their job and done it well, and it's that end system that it's not plugged into 311 correctly, or again, way more need and not enough resources. And just, we have a great 311 system. It's it's doing exactly what I was talking about, breathing equity into a system. Is you've got a transparent system, you've got a paper trail on every ticket and complaint ever created. It's all right there, and then it gives departments the ability to talk back and forth in a standard, transparent way with the residents that they're serving.
So this is a one-word answer. Okay, I'm going to limit you to one word. I can't really tell. That's why I'm going to ask the question. Do you like your job?
Oh, yes. Yeah, yes. Do I like my job? Yes. Jobs are jobs. But yes, honestly, I really do. I do like my job. And it's also been a dream to get to come work for the Urban Redevelopment Authority. There's so much incredible work that happens out of the URA. And it's the same thing with 311. Like, even though I'd never technically worked there, I was still an advocate and an educator of what the URA was and does. And so it felt like a very seamless transition to get to kind of come and be on the inside and really see the system holistically, instead of just having the one-pager pamphlets on what the systems are and where the front door is. It's really getting to see how all that worked. So, yeah, it's great. I mean, I can't stress enough how, and this is every municipal system, right? The land bank is a complicated thing. There's a lot of regulation and, and systems that you have to figure out how to make them all talk to each other. And there's data to manage. It is complicated. And it was nothing surprising, because if there's been a theme in every position I've ever had at the city, it is that nothing is ever simple. Everything is always more complicated than you could ever dream. so everything is always more complicated, and there's always really great, dedicated, hardworking people working on that complicated issue and doing the very best they can to make it work, despite the complexity.
Do you think you had an advantage when applying for the job because of all of the contacts you already made in the years working for this building, the various departments, the various people? You already had a lot of your own systems in place that you could draw on.
Oh, yeah.
And as you're nodding your head, I take the answer as yes.
Oh my gosh, yes. I mean, I don't think I could do this job if I did not have these years of experience, and connections with previous coworkers, and friends in these various departments. That's a huge part of this, right? Because there's always an element of trust in building and executing a new system, and understanding the intricacy of how that system is going to plug into what exists already. And I think I've spent a lot of years trying to help residents purchase property from the city, and then especially my work at PLI around how we currently handle vacant property, condemned property. I can see in my mind exactly how those plug in to the land bank, and how the land bank is a very natural next step to a lot of those processes. And it's absolutely essential. The work that I've done before at the city, and the contacts and the support that I have. And going back to, I love to be a helper, and I love to feel useful, and I have been able to, just have that baseline knowledge, and having that baseline knowledge of the city has been helpful to some of my coworkers at the URA too.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Now's the time of the show where I'm going to ask you 4 completely random questions. You have not been prepared for these. Okay. Are you ready? Okay.
I mean, no, but go ahead.
If you could switch lives with one coworker, who would it be and why?
Ooh, what a good.
And I guess because you've been in 103 departments, you can pick anybody.
I know, there's so many. Let's see here. Let me say, I can think of a few. Let me think of a few different. I mean, there's so many options. So I could say Lisa Chaffee, our city forester, who gets to work with trees all day long. And Lisa is, she's such a dedicated public servant, and, is so passionate about her work, and has made me love trees, so I think her, and she gets to go all over the city and do all this great advocacy work. So I would put Lisa on this list. I have been so impressed with the work that Christopher Mitchell has been up to with his gold plan. And again, just getting back to how important having high quality basic services for residents. Christopher is very passionate about litter, and getting and picking up litter, and figuring out how to build better systems at the city to address litter and debris, and developed a gold plan, and I believe is in the middle of implementing that. And so that work just seems super cool. And I'll put another old coworker, Alicia Carberry, on that list too, because she's also supporting Christopher's work. I think they're with the Clean Pittsburgh Commission, and I was got to be a board member on that for a couple of years, and I always thought that work was just super cool and essential. So
with all these names, would you switch lives one day at a time? Or?
Yeah, we'll do one day a piece.
Okay.
And I think there's probably several positions in DOMI that I would love to have for a few days. Gosh, and even at the URA, I mean, I would also go back to PLI. I mean, there's, I don't know. There's no shortage of information to learn, and so it's hard to pick. It's hard to pick just one.
I would pick somebody really well. I would pick City Clerk Kim Clark Baskin because she gets to hang out in the fire vault.
Yeah.
Because that's the coolest room in the building.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I love that one. So she gets to hang out in there anytime she wants.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Who is your childhood famous person crush?
Childhood famous person crush. Oh boy, good question. I am not someone who does a great job with following celebrities and movies and pop culture. Gosh, and so who was it? All right, childhood.
What was your favorite TV show when you were a kid?
Let's see. I was just thinking the other day about some of the classics, like Rugrats, Real Monsters.
Oh, that's way after me.
Some high quality animated television on Nickelodeon back in the day.
I don't.
Yeah.
That's way after me.
Boy, you got me on the. There's definitely somebody, but it's been so.
Okay.
I don't know. I
thought these were simple questions, but I guess.
I know. You know what? And it's definitely.
Mine was Alyssa Milano. She was on Who's the Boss when I was 10, 11, 12.
And I have no.
Do you not know who that is?
I have no idea. Maybe if I saw them.
Oh, wow.
Well, and Dave, what I like to think is that, so I am the oldest of four, and my younger brother is 9 years younger than me, which meant that when I was growing up, I spent many additional years watching shows that were age appropriate for my youngest brother, and that has just, I've been stunted in my pop culture growth and education.
I'm the youngest of two. And I was taught many things I probably should not have been taught.
Exactly.
Earlier than I should have been taught them.
Yeah. So it's.
What song could you listen to on repeat for 24 straight hours?
Ooh, Miley Cyrus's new song, "Flowers." I've been listening to that one a lot lately. That's a good one. Yeah, kind of. It changes a lot. Otherwise, but yeah, I'll stick with that one for now.
Okay.
I do enjoy a good Miley Cyrus song.
I would listen
if I do say so.
Since you asked, I would listen to the Beastie Boys' "Sabotage" loud in my face.
Did I ask? Did I want to know that? Dave?
Yes, you did. You absolutely did. Who are the four people, dead or alive, you're inviting to dinner?
Okay, let's see here. Okay, I'll stick with we'll keep our local government theme going here, and I'll say David Lawrence. Sure would love to hear about. He was I do believe when he was the mayor of Pittsburgh was responsible for lobbying the state to create the Urban Redevelopment Authority.
Yes, that is
so
correct.
I would love to hear all about his thoughts and approach, many of which I think we feel were pretty off base all these years later, but I would be very curious to hear how he thought about city government.
Okay.
Let's see here. Okay, so we'll do David Lawrence, Lady Gaga. Oh man. All right, let me think about this. Zora Neale Thurston, one of my favorite authors.
Okay.
And
Oh, it's a lot tougher than I thought.
yeah. Well, again, going back to this, this whole celebrity. Knowing celebrities, I know.
I just said four people. I didn't say famous.
All right, four people. And then am I the fourth person? Do I get to pick myself
you're the
as
fifth
the
person.
fourth? Okay, I'm the fifth. All right. Gosh. All right, you're going to have to edit out all of this, all of these pauses. Okay, let me think about this. I got to get a good...
Cookie Monster, perfect.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I'm just like, I'm totally stumped trying to think of,
It's okay. You're the fourth person.
hold on. I'll think of somebody good. Let me think. This is
You'll
the
think
last
about
question?
no. You'll think about it at 3 a.m. and call me.
I know.
Okay,
All right.
so I'm going to tell you my 4.
Okay, yeah. Let's hear your
Okay.
4. Inspire me.
Ted Williams, he was a dead Red Sox player. I named my kid after him.
Okay, no idea.
My wife got to pick where we live. I got to name the kids, so that works. JFK,
Oh yeah, okay. It's a good one.
Stephen King,
Okay.
and stand-up comedian Rob Riggle. Because so I love Stephen King books. I went to summer camp in Maine, and all his books are set in Maine. So I would love to know why he scared the crap out of me when I was a kid. And my wife won't let me watch it. So
Yeah, I can't do scary movies. I do not want to meet Stephen King. All right, so
who's your 4th?
here we go. So we got David Lawrence.
Lady Gaga.
I don't know that I even want to do Lady Gaga though, because
Jeez.
I don't know. She might not be an interesting. Okay, let's rewind here.
Okay.
All right, David Lawrence.
Yep.
Robert Krulewich.
I don't have no idea who that is.
You don't know who Robert Krulewich is? He was the longtime host of the radio show Radiolab. So I'm going to pick Robert Krulewich.
Okay, so not Lady
I think he's a
Gaga.
very thoughtful
So
interview.
Lady Gaga gets crossed out.
Yeah, so we're going to do, where was I? David Lawrence, Robert Krulewich, Zora Neale Thurston. I got to say her name right.
Okay.
And then I need a 4th one. And I think I'm going for people that aren't, well, Robert's still around. But,
That's okay.
let's bring back some people that I will really, truly never get to talk to. Let me think about this.
It's okay. You really don't need a 4th person. If it's only 3, it's 3.
Oh, that's no fun, though. I can do it. I just can't think under pressure.
I'll come to dinner.
Yeah, Dave Feiner.
Sweet. Awesome. All right.
Yeah,
So, if people are watching this and are hearing about the land bank for the first time, and they're thinking, wow, that's something I totally need to be a part of or want more information. How do they get more information? Who do they contact? Do they contact you directly? Tell us all the things we need to know to get more information about the land bank.
The board meetings for the Pittsburgh Land Bank are the second Friday of every month at 1 p.m.
Yep.
Right now they are virtual, and we hope to get back to some in-person meetings soon. And we've got public comment before and after the meeting. You can register on our website. You can also just show up, and we would love to hear from you. But I think going back and watching those videos on YouTube is a great way to kind of get up to speed on what we've been up to in the last 6 months. Otherwise you can give us a call or email us. That information is available at pghlandbank.org. And we are really eager to get out into the community and start talking to our residents about the services we can provide at the land bank. And just a couple of, we got a couple of T's to cross and I's to dot here, and we're going to be ready to start moving some property here very soon.
Awesome. Well, I would like to thank you for taking the time to come in to do this interview, to talk to us and tell us all the things, because I find you absolutely awesome.
Oh, gee, thanks. You too, Dave.
This is a mutual admiration society, of course. You've been a pleasure to work with all these years, and I'm just glad you're still around, because I would cry.
Yeah, we got many more. We got many more to go.
Yeah.
No shortage of work to do.
I got like 16 years before I can retire, so you're stuck with this. So, all right, Sally, thanks again for coming in. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Dave. It was
No
a pleasure.
problem. And to those of you that are watching at home, thank you for joining us. We hope we will see you again right here on Meet the People.